Okay. Hi guys, my name is Jennifer. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about Docker. A brief overview of what I'm cover. I'm going to cover the workflow of utilizing Docker and what Docker is, and then I'm going to go into a short demo of Dockerizing an application. So what is Docker? Docker is a virtualization technology that allows you to build, ship, and run application inside containers. So essentially, it separates the application from its infrastructures and uses this container technology, which is similar to running a virtual machine inside your computer. So let's say I want to run two Linux operating system inside my Mac, and I wanted to do it using a virtual machine. I would have to spin up two separate operating systems on top of my current operating system. With Docker, instead of running three separate operating systems, it creates these containers on top of my current operating system. So I only have one operating system, and then I have these containers that are stacked within my computer that would run whatever application I want to be ran inside of it. So that's like the basic difference between running a virtual machine and running an application using Docker. Docker is much more lightweight, so you could run much more applications within your computer, and it's also a lot more portable and efficient. So Docker uses this containerization method, which is essentially just running an operating system, which runs the operating system on top of your kernel, and basically it creates these different containers, with each container being a separate application. So you can have like a mean stack in this container, and then a Sean stack in this container, and then like a lamp stack in this container. And each of these containers can have separate environments that may differ. And so that if I say deploy this application, I want it to be tested in like an QA environment or in someone else's computer, and they might have different environment in their computer, they would instead have the same environment as mine, since these containers are isolated and contains all the dependencies and whatever stack I wrote my application in to be ran. So Docker has gotten really popular over these past years because of its ability to scale and its portability. It became I guess a hot technology for a lot of big companies. Google has been utilizing it and has deployed over 2 billion containers across their data center every week. You can see the trends here that from 2013 till I guess today, Docker has been increasingly becoming more and more popular. So in order for these containers to run properly, these container contains Docker images, which is essentially a template that contains whatever environment you're going to run your application on, a base operating system, or a stack you're writing your application on, and the dependency. And these are all like separate images that you'll compile together into a container that you'll then like ship off into Docker Hub, which is like the GitHub for Docker images. You could share your images. You could make it private if you do it in your own like private company, or you could take other people's images, which is sort of like taking other people's repository and like utilizing their code to like make whatever changes, whatever application you want to build. So you could find all of these images in Docker Hub. So to go over a basic workflow of how Docker works, I first have to go to, so say I'm creating a mean stack application. So the environment that I'll be running on is Node, and so I'll go to Docker registry, which is Docker Hub, to like retrieve that image, and then I'll pull in that image, and then I'll run the image, and running that image would create a container for me. And creating this container for me, I would then install other softwares, dependency, or whatever I use to create my app. And then that will bundle up all in this container. And when I'm like happy with what's running inside a container through the test that I like do inside my computer, I can send it to the Docker registry, so that other people could pull this this container into their computer, and they could like test it on their environment, or they could add stuff or whatever they want to do to with the container. And so other people could like stop, start, or reset the containers. The benefit of having Docker complete this life cycle is that it utilizes this Docker file, which essentially lists out all the different commands for you so that you can tell Docker like, oh, how can I make my application run? You could be like, oh, first retrieve the node image and then retrieve and then npm install all the dependency for my application and etc. So I'm going to do a quick demo of Dockerizing an application. This is a node, a React node and a React node application, and it's a very simple one. It just says, it just displays hello Grace Hopper. Here is the component that I'm writing in React, and it basically displays this element in the HTML wherever this element by the React content is located. So if you check in the index.html, you can see that this div is where the hello Grace Hopper would show up. So in order to like build my image, I would have to run this command docker build -t gh tutorial, which is the name of my image. And this might take a little bit, but because I pre-installed it earlier today, hopefully it'll be faster. I could go into the Docker file, which is here, and this is the list of commands that I'm telling Docker to do to create this container for me. The first one is like to retrieve the node version 5 module, image from Docker Hub, and then this is the my name. I'm the one who's developing this container. I'm saying that this is a dev environment. I'm telling Docker where to put these files that they are creating, copy my JSON, my package JSON file, and installing all the dependencies for this application. And then I'm telling to copy all the source file to run and compile this image for me so that I could run the container, which is my application. And then now you can see that my image is successfully built. And if I do a run on this container, so this essentially is saying that I want my virtual machine or Docker application to be running on port 808077. And the name of my Docker app or my container, and then this is where to get the source file. I'm telling it that when I Control-C out of this shell that I could still be running my application, and then this is the name of my image, and then I'm telling it to npm run browser sync so that if I edit anything in my files here that it will update automatically. So I'll run this image, and then while it's running, I could go to, okay, so it's done. I'm gonna find wherever I'll be able to see the application. And so I'm gonna find my IP. And this is the IP where Docker is loading my application. And since I said that it was in port 808077, I'm gonna go there. And then here it says hello Grace Hopper, which is what the React file says. So if I edit it right now and say like Grace Hopper with a lot of exclamation marks, it will automatically sync up. And even though I Control-C out of my shell, it's still updating. And if you check out Kitematic, which is the GUI for Docker, you can see that this is your container that you're running, and that these are all the commands that's running to get your application Dockerized. So if I stop this, then I can no longer view my machine on this IP address. And so I think a key takeaway about Docker is that Docker reduces the entire development lifecycle from development to testing to deployment and repeat for any application. It makes it really simple, and it allows developers to be able to build on top of any application as well as environment. So if you work in a bigger company, chances are that they might have previous developed environment which may restrict you from coding a certain language or coding a certain way. So instead of having to be restricted and constrained with all these like ties of the previous infrastructure, you can break it down to pieces and just deploy and integrate whatever pieces you have to your to their application. And here's some sources. There are some great articles on this topic. Their docs are pretty extensive, and if you check out the website, they have a self-paced training course that are pretty long, and they go in very deep details about like what they actually do and like installing and all that good stuff. So I hope you guys learned something about Docker and maybe utilize it or test it out. And that's all I have. Thank you.